Hi, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Hold up. I already got a cough. Listen. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Hold up. Let me mute that. How many links do I have open? I heard myself talking. Hey, everybody. Good morning. Shout out to everybody in the chat, guys. Thank you so much for being here. We are going to get started. Welcome, everybody. How is everybody doing? Hope you guys are having a blessed and wonderful Sunday. And Saturday was great. Mine was good. I actually I don't know if I would necessarily call it a day off because I did kind of stream in the middle of the night that Saturday morning, Friday to Saturday morning, but I did take the rest of the day off. And today I'm probably just going to do one live and then kind of get ready for tomorrow because I think tomorrow's going to be quite the interesting day. But I have to tell you guys, and I know some of you guys that have been following this case for since the beginning, since day one, since jury selection, or even before that, like myself, a lot of us have been following this before that, before, when the Cassie lawsuit happened, up until the arrests and the raids, and we were just on it, right? Um, I was listening to my transcript videos, right? And I kept going back and forth, and I was having conversations with folks. I said, I think one of the things that I'm struggling with this case is like, because I go back and forth on kind of the evidence that they presented. I think that the prosecution did a phenomenal job in their closing arguments. I think the defense did a good job in poking reasonable doubt or holes into some of the statements that were made. I don't think this was the best defense closing argument. I think AGNIFILO could have done better, so much better. I don't know what it was. I don't feel like he did very well, and maybe you guys can tell me what your thoughts are. You still need to watch it. Yeah, that video Marsha Peak dropped yesterday in the middle of the night, so make sure you watch it. And then I also did the rebuttal for the government. There was some stuff that really stood out to me that here's the deal: the defense needed to be careful because the defense made some like really snarky snide remarks, and he did get redirected a couple times by the judge, right? He made some really snide, just remarks about claiming R-ing. It's one of those situations where suddenly he just R'd you. Of course he denies any wrongdoing that is, because he's going to defend. That's what he's going to do, right? They're not denying the DV. Matter of fact, they feel like that's the crux of this case is DV, right? But the repeating, oh my God, yeah, Amira, you're right. AGNIFILO will repeat himself oh so much that it's just too much. Like, I'm like, I know the man was probably nervous. I would be nervous too, right? Like, can you imagine having to deliberate this? At the same time, the defense isn't who has to present. Like, they don't have to do anything, really. I mean, they're just there to rebuttal. Do I still believe that there should have been a witness that the defense would have brought in? That would have been nice, especially from the enterprise. I don't know why that didn't happen. I have a lot of questions about that. But I don't know. I don't think that, and a lot of people were in my chat. Oh, the defense did a good job. I don't know, man. The rebuttal from the prosecution was really what I think was phenomenal. Actually, I think they tied in the loose ends that the defense had put out there. I said, "Oh man, this is not looking good." And of course, if you're looking for every like lawyer commentary out there about this case, you're gonna get different perspectives. There was Maggie. This is the part that you guys know that I'm open to have a conversation about people having questions about certain things, but there was a level of like blaming that I don't like, that AGNIFILO took it there. Then there was this part that even the judge came in and said, "You need to stop this shit," during their break. This thought that the government, you can't trust the government. Well, no shit, Sherlock. A lot of us know Just like you can't trust a lot of lawyers, that say that they have their best interest. There's a lot of things that you can't trust, but they literally put that out there. Now, who knows? It sounds like, from what I've heard, people in the courtroom told me that they felt like AGNIFILO, actually, there were some jurors that literally connected with AGNIFILO's statement. So I said, well, there might be a chance there that, somehow this gets flipped, but I don't know. I don't know. So, like every other person here on YouTube, I said, well, let me go and look for like commentary about, from a lawyer perspective. And I did find a bunch of them. But this is where I got stuck, guys. Honestly, this is where I got stuck. I said, all right, let's talk about this evidence that they have. And just kind of going through it. And I really got stuck on the direct evidence versus circumstantial evidence. Now, I remember specifically very early on in the case, the judge actually, in the opening day of the first day of the trial, he actually gave the jury some instructions about the differences between. And this is what he put out. I think this is an important opening that the judge did, because I think that that's probably like AGNIFILO said in his closing statement, what is the value of the evidence that the government has presented? What is the value? That's where my mind is stuck at. When AGNIFILO actually said that in his closing arguments, what is the value of the evidence that has been presented? So then I said, well, hold up. Well, what value do we have here on this evidence? Well, we have witnesses. We have some text messages and emails and stuff like that. But then there's a lot of things that are open up for interpretation. I even thought about that. I said, oh, so like when Diddy said, do your job, a lot of people in my chat, and I did it myself too. I'm like, well, I've been told to do my job. I've been told to do my job. But is it centered on an FO? Like, what does it mean? Does it mean that if you want your rent paid, you got to do your job? That kind of deal. Bank records, credit card statements. There's a lot of evidence. That's kind of where my mind went. I said, oh, okay, well, is it circumstantial or is it direct evidence? So I want to go to the example, and then I'm going to go to a definition, and then we're going to go and talk to a lawyer, and we're going to do different things. Venus Blue Trial Bunny, thank you so much. The prosecution rebuttal, I think that's what you meant to say. Yes, took me all the way out. Is a hands and fist guy with his GFs. Pew pew fired. Masterful. Thank you for everything, Rabbit. Yeah. The closing arguments from the government, I think, were pretty good. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't think AGNIFILO brought it when it came to the closing arguments of the defense. I mean, now that I've sat here for a couple days, reviewed it, reviewed some things, there were some things that I will say that I'm like, that really made me think deep about what value of specifically when he said, what value of the evidence do they have here to really say that this man did what he did? I thought, I was like, okay, well, let me think about that, because that is a legit question. What value? And ask yourself, if you've been following this case from day one, what value of evidence does the government have to bring this on? And different attorneys will tell you different things. But I'm not a lawyer. I'll speak for myself. So I'm just evaluating things as I see them. So Venus Blue Trial Bunny, thank you so much, my love, for this $5. I appreciate it. So this is how the judge started opening day. Okay. And I think that if you were to use his example, I guess you just have to weigh in the value of the evidence that they have, right? He says, here's an example to help you think about the differences between direct and circumstantial evidence. Assume that when you came into the courthouse this morning, the sun was shining as it is outside, and it was a nice day outdoors. Also assume that the courtroom's blinds were drawn and you could not look outside. Assume further that as you were sitting here, someone walked in with an umbrella that was dripping wet. And then a few moments later, someone else walked in with a raincoat that was dripping wet. You're in a courtroom. The blinds are closed. Before you came in that courtroom, it was nice and sunny outside. The blinds were closed. You're sitting there in this courtroom, and then suddenly you see a person with an umbrella that's wet, and then you see a person with a raincoat that's wet. I think the assumption is, well, damn, it probably started raining outside, right? Like something is happening outside. Then now people, I was in here, I was outside and it was sunny, and I'm coming in now and the blinds are drawn now. Okay, so let's keep going. He says, now because you could not look outside the courtroom and you couldn't see whether it was raining, and because no witnesses has testified that it is raining, you would have no direct evidence of the fact that it is raining. I don't know if it's really raining. I only know what I saw, seeing the person coming into the courtroom with an umbrella, and then a person with a raincoat that's wet. I don't know if it's true. It could, I don't know. Maybe they got wet. Maybe somebody came in with the hose and hosed them down. You know, I'm just thinking, right? But he tells us, now, because you could not look outside the courtroom and you couldn't see whether it was raining, and because no witnesses has testified that it is raining, you would have no direct evidence of the fact that it was raining. But on the combination of the facts that I have asked you to assume, it would be reasonable and logical for you to conclude that it is, in fact, raining. That is all there is to circumstantial evidence. You infer on the basis of reason, experience, and common sense from one established fact the existence of a non-existent of some other facts. Okay, so I thought that was like, okay, the judge, I think, further introduced everybody in the courtroom and the jury that there's going to be a lot of circumstantial evidence for us to infer from what happened. Now, do I question the circumstantial evidence? Absolutely. Absolutely. I do. I question it all. I think that that's my right, and that's everybody's right. Sandra says, your humor, speculation, poll questions, and direct readings have been wonderful. Truly the best channel. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you for the $5. I appreciate it. Thank you. But I do. I'm because here's the deal. I can draw a lot of logical inferences from circumstantial evidence, but I've also seen situations where people put things together to make a circumstance that might not always make sense, right? So I very much see this other side of like, I question this part and that part. And that's how I found myself when we were hearing a lot of the witnesses. I said, okay, well, this was happening, and nobody called 911, nobody, there's no police report, there's no track record. But here we are today, here we are trying to piece things together, right? Make sense of it all. It's one of those things where I have to kind of figure out, all right. So anyway, so the judge gave us that definition, but I also found a post that I thought was helpful that further kind of explained this to us a little bit more. My friends, here it is. So I said, okay, let me just look into this a little bit more. So direct versus circumstantial evidence. Direct evidence is a type of evidence that, if true, directly proves a fact without requiring any inference or presumption. Okay. Well, here's a fact of this case, in my opinion. It's a fact that Regina Ventura had to get a home equity loan, right? It's a fact that she had to have this money leave her account into some account that belonged to Diddy. That's a fact. Outside of people speaking, that in alone stands by itself. We don't need to call a banker to come in from the bank to talk about how this transaction on this day went into this bad boy account. Hell, they could just probably pull the bank statements. It's a fact, that there was numerous damages to hotel rooms, right? On the basis of like the pictures that they're showing, okay, and that these damaged rooms were charged off of Amex accounts. He was moving money around to several accounts. Now, he can do that, right? He can do that. But the existence of the FOs were there. The FOs happened. We're not going to say, oh, the FOs didn't happen. This is all an illusion of our imaginations. No. That's direct evidence to me. That speaks to me that even if Regina Ventura did not testify that she, this is what happened, the bank statement alone could speak without her. Okay. On this day, Regina Ventura had to get a 20,000 home equity loan. Okay, there's that bribery piece, and that money was taken into another account. Now, some of you guys might say, "Well, it was returned." The mere simple act of the fact that the money left the account is enough to say that bribery existed. You're right; it was returned to her. Okay, let's keep going. So, I mean, I'm just giving you guys ideas of kind of where my brain kind of consolidated this as far as direct and circumstantial. Okay, so direct evidence is a type of evidence that, if true, directly proves a fact without requiring any inference or presumption. Okay, Regina, for example. This could also include eyewitness testimony, videos or audio recordings, or written confessions, which give straightforward proof or disproof of a fact. It is seen as more reliable than circumstantial evidence. The government, when I've said this before, fumbled a little bit in the direct evidence, okay? Because they try to make what seems to be circumstantial into direct evidence, and that would have been the Kid Cudi situation, where they said, well, we're not saying he did it, because they said it in the closing argument. We're saying that, isn't it a coincidence that his car blows up after Diddy says on a voice note that his car was going to blow up? But there was nothing leading up to that. I would have labeled that as circumstantial. I probably wouldn't even have talked about that unless there was more to it other than assumptions, if that makes sense. All right, circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence is indirect evidence that implies something occurred but does not directly prove it. Kid Cudi. You can imply, yeah, he said this was going to happen, and then it did. You can imply that it happened, but there's nothing to prove that it actually happened. I personally felt like the government spent way too much time on this part when it came to that. Too much time, and other parts too. Let's be real. There's some parts where it became a little bit circumstantial to me when it came to the Jane Doe, honestly, where a lot of us, we were like, well, okay, so the behavior really started showing after the fact that Cassie's lawsuit came in. That's when she started, feeling like she can exert control over this man in this situation. It's interesting to me. There's just so many moving parts to Jane Doe, and people have said this loudly about Jane Doe. I don't feel like I'm the only one, and I probably won't be the last. But I'll put that out there, okay? It requires circumstantial evidence requires inference and reasoning to connect the evidence to a specific conclusion or event. It is therefore seen as less reliable as standalone evidence, but can be used to contribute to build a case. I feel like if the government, and this is where I say, well, the government did a good job in kind of building things brick by brick by brick, some of which was circumstantial. Some of these evidence, these laptops that Cassie turned in, the things that were collected from KK, the things that were put in together, kind of build off of a bigger logical inference, if that makes sense, a bigger logical inference based off of circumstantial evidence. For example, KK, as AGNIFILO likes to say, KK the co-conspirator. KK has a lot of fucking shit to worry about, guys. If I was KK, I would be very, very concerned about where I'm gonna be laying my head in the next couple of if I may have a trial myself. Is it going to be in a cell? Because literally the government is not letting this go, and they've let us know in their closing arguments. They knew, and the reason why they're looking at KK as a co-conspirator. Let's pull up that transcript real quick. Specifically, this is what I thought was very interesting, and they told us everything in the closing arguments. Okay, let's see. What was the last day? Was it the 27th? It was the 27th. Oh, what did they say? To do. Oh, no. That's not the one that I want. Here it is. KK knew. Okay. There was so much that KK knew. She knew and she didn't stop. She knew and she had opportunity to say, you know what? Yeah, I'm not going to be distributing these rugs to Diddy. She knew, and she didn't do anything about it. And so this is why it's very important to have KK be the co-conspirator, because it's really the crux of the government's case. Because they're really saying, like, listen, without a enterprise, without KK, without all these moving parts, how much of a case you have as far as a RICO goes? That's the question. Let me see if I can pull it. I'm trying to find it, y'all. I want to say it was on opening day. I can't remember what page. Let's see. I think I could pull the transcript. If you have not watched the videos of the transcripts, you need to go watch them, especially if you're new to the case, because I think it'll help you a little bit. Here it is. She calls them the lieutenants. She calls them the lieutenants. The government does. I think that that's an important way to describe them, because say the lieutenants. It's lieutenants. How the hell do you spell lieutenants? Give me one sec, y'all. Lieutn. There it is. Okay, let me share it with you guys. Let's stop this right here. KK is not getting out of this one, y'all. She's not. And this is what the government says. And did he commit these crimes alone? Obviously not. This is a guy who can't get himself his own water bottle or plug in his own phone charger. How is he going to maintain a steady supply of rugs for himself and his girlfriends on his own, or kidnap Capricorn on his own, or keep Cassie locked in a hotel on his own, or bribe security guards on his own, or fly escorts across the country and keep thousands of dollars in cash handy to pay them on his own? He's not working on his own. That's part of the enterprise. He's the general, not a foot soldier, not a lieutenant. He delegates, and his inner circle handles the dirty work. Now, speaking of the inner circle, the defense spent time trying to suggest that KK was not a co-conspirator. I guess the suggestion is that she had no idea what was going on around her, no idea that her actions were helping the defendant break the law. The evidence in your common sense tells you that is nonsense. That's the question. That's the $1 million question. Did KK know that her actions, and again, ignorance of the law does not mean that you will be absolved of any liability or responsibility. Okay? It doesn't. It doesn't. Just because you didn't know doesn't mean you can't be held accountable, right? If I didn't know that I had to stop at a red light, girl, you got a ticket. Okay? I didn't know I couldn't drive without insurance. Girl, you got a ticket and you might go to jail. I don't know. I'm just thinking of different things. Okay? Further goes. Now, speaking of the inner circle, the defense spent time trying to suggest that KK was not a co-conspirator. I guess the suggestion is that she had no idea what was going on around her, no idea that her actions were helping the defendant break the law. The evidence in your common sense tells you that is nonsense. Witness after witness told you that KK was the defendant's right-hand woman. Hell, he wrote a Twitter about it. She lived in his home. She read his texts. She texted on behalf of him from his phone and knew every detail of his life. And when you read KK's text, it is clear that she knows exactly what the defendant was all about, including his crimes. She is arranging rugs transportation with Jane. Okay, that's there. She's sending Paul up to the hotels, and she's orchestrating the bribe payment to Eddie Garcia. And make no mistake, she knows Wild King nights involve escorts as early as 2019, and she knows about cowboy escorts. Now, the other side to this too, and people will say, well, damn, like that's what that's what a celebrity fixer is supposed to do. That's what you want a ride or die like KK. That's what you want. But I mean, to what extent? To what extent? She went into the hotel. She was making calls. They were fixing things. They were flying people over. When did she stop and say, damn, this might be bad. This might be a RICO. Somebody said in my chat, and I would agree. I mean, I've had a lot of jobs in my lifetime. And if a boss, if my superior, if my executive, if the CFO or CEO said to me, hey, Rabbit, go get me some rugs. Even if it's MJ in the flower, which I love me the flower, I don't think I'd be able to do that and be compensated and then go ask for reimbursement by TriStar, and do all that. Like, I don't think that would be allowed for me to do. And what do I do with that? Do I become a whistleblower? Do I stay quiet about it? I can't talk to HR. Because clearly, and I told you this, even in a non-enterprise RICO situation, even in a non-RICO situation, HR is always going to be compromised. HR is for who? The business. Not for you, not for the people, not for the employee, right? Which is funny to me when AGNIFILO brought DEI. And I said, listen, I'm all for all of that, but I don't think it brought any relevance to this. And I was thinking in my mind, I said, even when he made the comment about Jane Doe still living in that place. I mean, ideally, as a woman, that's not what I would do if I was Jane Doe, of course, especially if there's an investigation, even if it's been paid for. At the same time, I don't think it would be a good look for Diddy to just kick her off to the street, given that the crux of this whole case is the simple mere fact that, there's that coercion part and that, prostitution part and holding that a place over her head. It would look bad for Diddy to just kick her off the street and leave her homeless. Right? It's a lot of optics to this situation. Honestly, this is why I said you got to watch the transcript videos, the opening statements, the closing statements, arguments for the prosecution and the defense and the rebuttal, because it kind of puts things into perspective. But it truly has been a case where they're building things brick by brick by brick, even in the circumstantial side. The bricks may be wobbly every once in a while. I'll put you there. But this is not a Diddy is he's gonna be walking free. We don't know. First of all, I'm not in the jury, neither of you guys, but you guys are, entitled to your opinion. Okay, hold up. I want to show you guys a video that this lawyer right here, pretty amazing lawyer. You guys check him out. I'm sure a lot of you guys are subscribed. His name is CLR Bruce Rivers. Big YouTuber lawyer. Shout out to him. Hudson, Saint, and Co. Thank you so much for the 1 and 9. There's a lot we wouldn't do, but Jane would. Yeah. Not the best witness. I wonder if, like, I go back. Were there others? Could there have been others that they could have subpoenaed? Right? It's a lot to be said here. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Y'all are okay? Let me know in the chat. Shout out to everybody. I know, listen, I know the chat is a little spicy. I just wanted to give you guys just my thoughts about this whole situation. Hudson, again, thank you so much for the 199, my love. Thank you. You guys are entitled to your opinion. I mean, at the end of the day, we don't know what's going to happen here. Listen to what Mr. He's a criminal lawyer, okay? But like I said, we have received commentary from various lawyers, so I'm very selective about who I pick. Of course, you guys know I'm going to pick That's Price Witness, BJ, as somebody who is a reliable source. Emily D. Baker. There's a couple out there that I'm like, okay, I like the way in which things are explained here, if you know what I mean. So listen to what Mr. Rivers had to say, okay? Listen.
In the closing argument, the government, they went through and they tried to simplify things for the jury, which is what you need to do. And it's really tough to go through 7 weeks of trial and sum it up into a short presentation that's going to keep somebody's attention. I tend not to go more than a half hour for my closing arguments. Very rarely do I go more than a half hour. Let's talk about the jury instructions and how that dovetails into what the government was doing. First, an enterprise existed. They have to prove that an enterprise existed. This is for RICO. And that's not going to be hard at all, because you have employees, you have a structure, you have a corporation, and you have Diddy at the top telling everybody what the fuck to do. Very, very easy. 2, the enterprise was engaged in or had some effect on interstate commerce, crossing state lines. That's all they have to do. And if bringing hookers in from out of state satisfies that. 3, the defendant was associated with the enterprise. Well, it's his. It's Diddy. I mean, there's no question about that. So, and the 4th element is that that 2 or more persons reached an agreement or came to an understanding to conduct or participate in the affairs of the enterprise, directly or indirectly, through a pattern of racketeering activity, and that the defendant voluntarily joined that, either at the time or sometime later. And it's his organization. So the only question here is really, the only question for the jury is whether there was a pattern of racketeering activity. So
the only question for the jury is whether there was a pattern of racketeering. Okay.
And the 5th element is that the defendant voluntarily and intentionally joined in the agreement or understanding, either at the time it was first reached or sometime later. But I mean, the existence of the enterprise and the affairs of the enterprise and the conduct of the enterprise is all the diddler. There was a whole bunch of racketeering activity, or they call them overt acts, actually. The one thing that you really need to know, and the jury is going to be told this in their instructions, they don't need to prove beyond a reasonable doubt every single one of the acts that was presented. They can pick and choose. Oh, I believe this one. I believe this one. I don't believe that one. I don't believe that one. Oh, but that one looks probably true. So they only need to pick 1 or 2 of them, and that's it. I mean, and that's why racketeering, or RICO, is such a broad net, which is just crazy. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy how easy it is for the government to prove their case.
So this is why when we were talking about, well, they added the arson and they added the abetting trafficking. What else in the kid? There was other stuff that there's a bunch of stuff that they've been added, but I thought this was interesting that because we've explained it here how broad it's kind of like, think of RICO as like an umbrella, and then you have all these things under this umbrella of various things that people can do in a RICO that they could be charged for, or they could look at. So I thought that was important to point out. But let me know what you guys think. You said we are beyond a pattern. Absolutely. And by the way, this is under fair use. So I've used Mr. Bruce Rivers. I've never had an issue before. Watch the same video earlier, open and shut. You think so? Happy birthday to your niece. Shout out to you, James. Happy birthday. She said it was my niece's birthday, so I asked her, my mother, what present I should get her, and she said you can't really go wrong with frozen stuff. So I got her a bag of peas. Shout out to James. Rabbit, is this guy is probably compromised by the government. I watched him before. Without a profit, you don't have a RICO. Haha. Have a nice suit though. How do you know he's compromised by the government? That sounds like a lot of that's a huge assumption, Lindell. How do you determine somebody's been compromised by a government who's on YouTube, who's not party to the case? I guess that's my question. Let me know what you guys think. I mean, literally, I have a lot of questions about that. Let me know. The financial gain is where people get stuck at. And even the government in their summation said that it's not always monetary. It's not always monetary in that sense. Let me explain to you what the summation says. Hold up. See if I can remove that. Government summation says, okay. And again, this is up to the government. I mean, it's up to the jury to figure out if they've, they've done a good job in this. She says here, coercion is a little bit more complicated. This is what Slavic said on their summation. I expect the judge will instruct you that there's two ways to show coercion. Okay. First, it can be a threat of serious harm or physical restraint. Serious harm can include both physical and non physical harm, like psychological or financial reputational harm. Second, coercion can also be proved if the defendant engaged in a scheme, plan, or pattern intended to cause the victim to believe that if she didn't engage in commercial S acts, that the victim would suffer serious harms. Third and finally, there's that interstate commerce, interstate or foreign commerce. Okay, just the movement of goods, services, money, and individuals between two or more states or between the U.S. and another country. The defendant doesn't need to know or intend that his conduct would affect interstate commerce. The effect of interstate commerce can be minor. Okay, there's one example of coercion. Okay. You said it further goes. And for his part, the defendant continues to speak to Jane even when they were on a break because he was still trying to ensure Jane's silence, or in his words, tie up loose ends. He even tried to get her to reach some financial agreement with him. He told her to charge him, and he said the lawyers would be involved. He was basically trying to buy her silence. That's what they've inferred based on the messages. When she said, "This is how much I'm worth," and then he kind of loses it and he's like, "I'm calling the police and I'm letting them know and I can release all these videos that I have, yada yada yada." Okay. Further goes, starting first with the defendant paying rent for Jane's house. Now we've already talked about this, but this is just an example of defendant's financial coercion of Jane. As you remember from Jane's testimony, after the defendant started paying for her rent in April of 2023, she felt completely obligated to these hotel nights. This is, as I said, an example of defendant's financial coercion of Jane. Okay. Further goes, hold up, let's see. At this point, you know what coercion is. It is threatening physical or non-physical harm, which of course includes reputational and financial harm, to compel someone to perform a commercial S acts to avoid occurring that harm. Okay, I'm just literally highlighting where it talks about the financial. All right. And then we can look at the government's drop of more evidence that they did over the weekend so you guys can see. CC, thank you so much for the $2. Thank you for the $2 super sticker. That's all it takes. Yeah, I think people are really missing the mark in that. Well, the enterprise didn't gain the money. And you know what? There might be a juror who says, "Where's the financial gain to the RICA or to the enterprise? Where's the financial gain?" You're going to get people that are asking this question. This is why I welcome that discourse, because it's not about like people are going to land in different areas of this. Because in my mind, I did too. I literally got sucked into the argument of, well, the money didn't go back to the enterprise at all. You said, is Jane still being coerced while Diddy's locked up and he's still paying? But see, Lindell, that's neither here nor there. AGNIFILO mentioned it too. He could wouldn't he be stupid? Let's have a real conversation. Let's just say that Diddy, okay, who's fighting for his life right now, decides to kick Jane out of that apartment right now or that house. Wouldn't that be a stupid move to make out of Diddy's behalf? The man is trying to fix his reputation while he's behind bars. I mean, he sued a bunch of people for damaging his reputation. Like, it would be dumb to just say, "All right, get out." No, let the lease finish and then let the girl go. Now, like I said, is that ideal? No. While the man is locked up, she's living in that apartment. I think it speaks, in my opinion, to maybe the circumstances that she might be in. Maybe she's got no financial place to go. Maybe she's like, "Well, I'm going to live it up because he's over here fighting." And he paid for her lawyer too, right? At the end of the day, and I said it before, Diddy, the only person who's in this position is Diddy. His actions have led him to where we're at right now. You cannot say that he's been set up by the government. If they're saying This has been 20 years of this ongoing thing. Okay. Diddy is the one that set himself up here. A billionaire, a stupid billionaire at that. Okay. He set himself up. There's nobody else is to blame for but Diddy here, guys. If there's one thing we can agree on is that Diddy is responsible for the shit that's happening right here. Honestly, it is. No disrespect. You don't know what you're talking about. Have you ever looked at the legislation intent? Do you even know what the law is for? The legislation intent for what? For RICO? Okay. Well, Ripplewood, listen, there might be somebody in the jury that agrees with you. There might be somebody who says, yep, this legislation is for this and this is what it's intended for. That's what it might be. You never know. We don't know. We don't know. It could be that the jury says, yeah, you know, the enterprise didn't benefit from this. It was literally a situation where all of these adults consented. That's what they did. No, and they're not. And I agree to that. But when did it become of public view? At some point, the government got involved in Diddy's life and he saw a crime laid out. And I'm going to be honest with you, it does look like it. I mean, there's a lot to be said here, guys. There's a lot to be said here. And he was paying off people. What about Eddie, my angel? What are you going to say about that? Well, it's a really bad PR situation. Okay. That it involved a crime. That a crime had occurred. He was assaulting her in the hall. He was dragging her back. She didn't want to go back to that room. Are you guys going to rewrite history on that too? Did we watch the same video? He could have let her go. He could have just said, fuck it. Like, let her go. I'm not going to go after her. No, he went after her and then kicked her and hit her. That was a crime too. Now you might argue, well, then that's TV. Well, isn't that also an element under RICO too? Like, isn't that part of coercion? Don't you need that for this to happen too? Guys, like, I mean, you could paint it in any kind of way that you want to. And that was their private situation bedroom too. And now here it is for everybody to see. That's right. Exactly, Charles. Tell them they have to. Thank you, Charles. They have to follow instructions by the court. They're not going to go out there and let me see what the legislation says. Well, on this year, they passed this. And no. Y'all not. This is why the judge explained circumstantial and direct evidence at the very beginning. Because first of all, we knew that we were going to get a little bit of both. And they were going to build this bit brick by brick. Now, I could be wrong. I mean, there could be, it doesn't matter. There doesn't need to be police involvement. Guess what? There's a whole video in there. They're not going to be given a piece of legislation. They're going to say, let me read this. Let me see. Like what? Anyways, you guys keep saying that the dragging her back. Did she end up in the room? No, but what does that matter? It still happened. If I'm being dragged by my hoodie to go somewhere, that's still a drag. I don't want to be there. Right? That was the one time we talked about how Cassie consented to some of the FOs, right? She consented to some of these FOs. She said, yeah. You know, I wanted to, I thought maybe this was an opportunity for us to, you know, connect at a different level. And it was just a me thing with me and my partner. She consented to some. That's one time she didn't consent. And we're watching her not consent and try to leave. And you got people in the chat trying to justify that. How? How do you justify that? I don't get it. You can't, I don't know what to tell you. How do you justify that? We said and we agreed, guys, there were times that she consented. Cassie said it on her own word. She consented to some of these, just like Jane Doe did. But the one time she didn't consent, she's getting dragged back into the room. And we're trying to rewrite the narrative of that. I'm confused. I don't know. So you can't say she was being dragged back to the room. I'm so confused by your comment, but that's okay. The government can get involved in the moment you start forcing people to engage in illegal activities. Keyword forcing. Thank you, my love. Thank you. Okay. Forcing. Diddy mistake. We're doing these acts with women that weren't 100% willing. That's it. That was it. That's it. Now, I don't want the government in my bedroom or your bedrooms or anything, but if I'm forcing, men and I'm drugging them and I'm telling them, this is what, and I'm dragging them because a woman can do that too, right? We can take advantage of men as well. Guess what? The government's going to get involved. Literally. Pull it. I'm not going to pull up that transcript. You want me to pull up the transcript where she said she was trying to leave? Did we not see a video? You want Cassie to say I was trying to leave? Is that what you want her to say? She wasn't trying to stay. She was leaving the room. We literally saw that 15-minute video. Do you want to watch it again? Is that what you want? You want me to pull the transcript where she says I wanted to leave? Did she not say? She said it even in her own words. She didn't want to be there. She just wanted her phone. She talked to the security guy, Israel, who said she just wanted her phone. Why are we writing history, rewriting that over? Why? I'm so confused by you. Anyways, literally plain semantics. I think you're just trolling at this point. You have to be trolling. Literally plain semantics. She just wanted her phone. Oh my God. Angel Diaz says, I went to high school who the RICO laws was actually made for, John Gotti. I know he's laughing in his grave as the government is now putting people in prison for their private lives. Angel, you guys are entitled to your opinion, but I'm sorry, I don't agree with this part. Are we really going to be gaslit? She must have really she literally went and was like, yeah, thank you so much, Angel. You guys are entitled to your opinion. I'm not blocking you for that. I'm not. At all. Y'all are entitled because this is a court trial and I think it's heated and it's a value. I value everybody. But at the same time, I'm like, guys, come on now. We're really talking about Cassie? We really gonna say that she's leaving the elevator. What does he do? Grabs her and then pulls her down. And then what? Hits her. If he wanted to let her go, he would have just let her go. He didn't do that. That's crazy. That is crazy, but okay. Go off. Anyways. It was a lot worse. You think so? Okay. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, y'all. I don't know. Listen, you guys are entitled to your opinion. I'm just letting you know what I see. Maybe it's different from what you guys see. And guess what? Maybe the juror might agree with Road Dog or whoever the hell was in the chat. Maybe they might agree. They might be like, no, that wasn't punching. That was caressing. That wasn't pulling. That was just gently tapping. He didn't throw a flower vase or tried to. That was literally him waving his hand. I don't know, y'all, but listen, anything. No, at all. At all. He said, if you look at legislative intent was for the money laundering by criminal activity, they're using this statute the wrong way. It's terrible for prosecution behind the law. If read why they put it in the law, Ripplewood, I'm not reading why they put that in the law. I would suggest maybe maybe write to your congressman and let them know how they're using, because honestly, as somebody said in the chat, they're not going to be given legislation to read to determine this case. They're literally given instructions on what to charge and how it's going to look. And that's what the judge is going to do. Nobody's got time to look at legislation on criminal activity, but I hear what you're saying. Literally. I don't know. No, because he didn't do that, right? Like he gently touched her. He was trying to hug her. He wasn't trying to beat the shit out of her. No. Literally, it's just all in my head. All in my head. But anyways, y'all are entitled to your opinion. Thank you, Angel says, question, what's the difference between blown up and damage? I'm asking in regards to Kid Cudi's car. I just seen the pictures again. Just the seats were damaged and the equal blown up damage. You know what? I said this to you guys. Honestly, I think that the government fumbled. I've said this earlier. I don't think that they did a good job in the Kid Cudi situation. In my opinion, they kind of lost the mark there. I'm not the only person who has said that. There's a lot of people who have said, yeah, no, that wasn't good, right? So when it comes to this, what's the difference between blown up and damage? I don't think the car blew up. I think there was just damage to the car from this Molotov cocktail. The government said in their statement and their summations, we know that Diddy didn't, cut up the hole, open in this little thingy and put them. They know that. But they added that there because there was a voice note that a lot of us didn't get to hear about his car blowing up. Well, that's different because Diddy didn't blow up the car. Diddy's DNA wasn't there. And yes, we can make a assumption based on this voice note, but we know that that's not what happened. So I think that was they lost the mark on that one. I don't think that I don't know. To me, anybody could have done it. It could have been Kid Cudi's ex. We were talking about that. Some of you guys said it was Janice Combs. It was not Janice Combs. Some of you guys said different things about that. So I would agree with this. I said they fumbled on this one. Angel Davis, thank you so much for the $10. Like I said, you guys are entitled to your opinion. I just see things a little bit different when it comes to this. And did you become a member, love? Thank you, thank you, thank you. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Y'all are fighting. Don't fight. You don't fight. This is going to end up pretty soon, you guys. Don't fight in the comments. Yanni says, Cassie testified that Diddy said he was going to do it, and then he blew it up. I think there was a voice note, Yanni. We didn't get to hear it, though. It's called indirect evidence, circumstantial, and that the judges talked about that at the beginning. Yes, we talked about that. I still think that they fumbled on that one. But yes. It says, it is immoral to lie and make someone think you like them. All you want is their money. Isn't that fraud? Isn't that a crime to make something they love so they can get financial aid? Yeah. And that's why they took immunity. I'm pretty sure. Guys, I'm pretty sure, and I've said this, Cassie, Jane, a lot of these people are unindicted co-conspirators. Okay. Cassie could have very well have been charged, but she worked with the government. I don't blame her. Okay. People can make that argument. Oh my gosh, it was this way or it was that way. Cassie, guys, and people that are in trafficking rings find themselves in that situation. Doesn't make her any less of a victim, because I definitely, in my opinion, I feel like Cassie is a victim. After I have kind of sat there and reviewed and just kind of consolidated some of this information, I don't think she realized it, but she is an unindicted co-conspirator. And it's okay to say that. A lot of victims that are in rings or in situations like this find themselves to be co-conspirators to a lot of things that they wouldn't have done, but they did. There's a lot of confessional of prostitutions, arranging things on her own, agreeing to things, moving things around, paying these prostitutes. Yes. So you could say Cassie was in love, or you could say it's neither here nor there. At the end of the day, there was still a crime that happened. She cooperated with the government for that statement. And I mean, I agree. I hear where you're coming from, but it's a two-way fold in this. Hold up. Let's see. How are you going to prove a criminal enterprise by giving immunity to those in the criminal enterprise? Because that happens all the time, Trina. That happens a lot. People get immunity all the time, as long as that you have snitches. This happens all the time. That I'm sure that the jury will look at that, but that's part of the working with the government. That's going to happen. You're going to have people that are working with the government. That's why they say that they're snitches. That rat. That's where that term comes from. You said, then how is she a victim if she was a perpetrator? Because you can be both. You can be a victim and you can be both. You might not realize it, but you can be both. And it's all up to how the government sees that, if that makes sense. You can be a victim of a crime and then be a perpetrator of that crime. It happens all the time. Absolutely. But in this is because like I said, I don't think Cassie said, yes, I'm going to work with the government. I think the government knocked at her door and said, you filed this lawsuit. If this lawsuit had been quiet, guys, you do realize we wouldn't have had a RICO. I've said this multiple times. If it wasn't for the fact that this lawsuit was so public, the feds wouldn't have even known. And I have a feeling that the feds were probably looking at Diddy for quite some time before all of this. They must have gotten wind of something going on before all of this. And then they had their smoking gun right there. They went for it. Remember, when the raids first happened, one of the things that we said, you guys, how come they haven't charged Diddy? What's going on? He usually takes this much. It took them a while to build their case. I think they had 3,500 pieces of evidence. Okay. 3,500 pieces of evidence that they had to kind of go through. Many devices. Cassie said on the stand, I turned in my device. It was this device. Some of them were damaged and broken. Yes, she cooperated with the government. Because if she didn't cooperate with the government, she's pregnant. She's got what? This is her third child? She would have gone to jail, even though she's a victim. They could have charged her too. So she had no choice. And think about it. If you're Cassie and you're sitting there and the government's coming knocking to your door after you've done this lawsuit, then they're wanting to, they want to interview you. I'm not going to jail or prison to cover up for a man that I was in a relationship with that treated me very badly and that I had to sue later on. That's the reality. She's not going to go to jail for that. So she's going to do what? Cooperate with the government. She was on the stand and had to tell people that an prostitute urinated in her mouth. Who the hell wants to be in a position where they have to say that publicly? Think about it. So yeah, you can look at this both ways. You could say, oh, Cassie, she was in it for this, and so was the other one. Yeah, and that doesn't take away from the crime. It doesn't. Y'all can't, like, you could sit there and say, go, it's the legislation. The jury's not looking at legislation. They're looking at instructions to charge. It's just, I'm sorry, it's just how it is. Diddy didn't do that to her. Well, I mean, it is what it is. The state or government can take on any case they feel involves criminal activity. That includes civil cases. They can take on any. I will say this, and I've said this before. Just know, try the cases has been presented. I want you to tell me in the chat how many of the 167 or 67. I can't even remember. I can't keep it straight. 67 cases, civil cases that Busby and between all the other lawyers have filed. How many of them actually made it to the criminal case? I can count 3, and I've said it before. Cassie's lawsuit was really the crux of this. Okay, Cassie, John Richard, okay, Bana Brianna Bangolo, 3, and Mia sued for unemployment, but that case was never anything that we looked at. That wasn't anything recent. There, out of all of those cases where they said there's minor children, no minor children have been mentioned in this criminal case. It's not even part of an act. No minor children. So I think that should be something that people need to pay attention to. Y'all remember, keep that in mind. There's only 3 cases that we know of. So all of these people that were suing it, I mean, they made some pretty interesting allegations. Not one police report. And I remember some heavy ass cases because I reviewed so many of those civil cases here, guys. A good portion of Busby where they had pictures of things, right? Not one of those cases from Busby's firm made it to the criminal case here. Not one of them. I think that says a lot. I think we have to pay attention to like all of that too. Anybody can sue anybody for just about anything. That's a true. That's just how it is. Angel, thank you so much, my love. I heard from some other lawyers that if he gets convicted on certain charges, this may open the door for feds to come after people that use Tinder, OnlyFans, etc. I don't know if okay. I think this is why I'm very careful about the legal commentators I listen to, and I said this earlier in the live, because I don't know between fear mongering and actually giving me an opinion. And like I said, some of these lawyers, we trust a lot of the YouTuber lawyers I trust, right? But I'm very selective because I don't know if they're fear mongering me or what they're saying. First of all, I don't think there's anything wrong with using Tinder, OnlyFans. If that's how you get down, however the hell you want to. I think the issue becomes when there's an issue of consent. And if you're traveling to and from, to for services that you're not supposed to, you're supposed to figure this out. Um, there's a difference, I think. Like, say that if you're going to a city and you happen to hook up with somebody on Tinder, right? That and it's something that just happens. I think it's a little bit different versus you have an enterprise behind you that's literally you got people working to set these things up. I don't think that there's a comparison here. This just happens to be the Diddy case, if you know what I mean. Cowboys for Angels. There you go. I mean, if that's what you guys use, Cowboys for Angels, that's a little bit different. But there's a lot of fear mongering that's happening. 10,000 a month will collecting 4,000 for child support. A mother you has children should be considered for her child. A mother who has children should be considered for her child. A mother who listen, I don't know what you're talking about, but shout out to you. I'm trying to consider a lot of the opposing view comments so I can understand a little bit more. Oh Lord, hold up. Let me see. Listen, I might have a little brain, but I wonder what little you have too. Okay, my friend? Thank you. And yet you're here. Thank you. Let me hide you forever. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I might have a little brain, but you might have a little poop tootsie roll. Okay. Let's keep playing. I know. It's crazy. Totally two different animals. Absolutely. We have to be mindful of what's fear mongering out there. Paying for S is illegal, Angel. Dating isn't. There you go. There's right eternity. There's a difference. If you happen to meet somebody on Tinder, that's one thing. Like, that's just how it is. But yeah, let's see. I know Miss Toby hit me. I blocked them. It is what it is. That is true though. They can say that if you sent a woman money to come to another state and you just hook up, and that happens with more than one, it would be a charge if this is found guilty. I don't know if that's going to be the basis. See, Savannah, I could see this case being the Diddy case. I could see the basis of maybe like a case that gets studied for many, many years. You know what I mean? Like, I could see this one being, because it's not a black and white case. So I mean, for somebody who's not an attorney, Mr. Bruce Rivers says something different. I don't know if it's as black and white for us regular folks, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? CC, have a good day at work. Shout out to you, my love. It might be different, but I have a lot of questions about it, honestly. What could the Diddy case determine how we see prostitution, or for billionaires or for regular folks? There's a lot to be said here. But here's the deal, guys. One thing that the government said, and I would have to agree with this: how the hell, if you're Cassie or if you're Jane, I think it happened with Cassie, right? Cassie was sitting there asking the some of these prostitutes, "You're not a cop, are you? You're not a cop, are you?" That's a red flag that laws are being violated. If you're having to ask an prostitute if you're a cop or not, hint hint, that's I don't know what else to tell you. Why would you ask somebody that you're not a cop if you're just dating somebody, hooking up with somebody that you met on Tinder? If there's nothing nefarious happening and you just happen to connect with that person, or you like the casual S and that's the thing that you do, why would you ask the question, are you a cop, unless you're exchanging money for services? That don't make any, like, there you go. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. You said R. Kelly is the president's, yeah, the president's, I can't even pronounce it. The president's. Thank you. Let's see. Riverwood is good. Don't commit crimes. Also, OnlyFans is online, no physical interaction, not illegal. Savannah, what if you decide to meet folks on? Yeah, I think OnlyFans is a little bit different, but if you decide to meet them off, I think that might be a little bit different too. The U.S. has a rich tradition of attacking, enslaving, incarcerating black males for trump up charges for nothing, but we must deny it even as it continues. That sums up this prosecution. Spotlight TV, if that is what you feel is the basis of this case, then it goes back to the person that was talking about legislation, right? There's where that goes. I definitely agree that there is a disproportionality big time. Okay. That should not be surprising at all. But I can agree with that statement. Rabbit, how can we trust that one message that you said that Cassie didn't want to do a freak off when the government may have been hiding the complete message? I don't know what the government is hiding, Lindell. Do I trust the government? No. I can agree with certain aspects of Agnifilo's argument, but I think it was weak. It's weak to tell okay, let me give you an example. It's one thing to say don't trust the government, right? And that be the basis of your argument. But Agnifilo, you're a fucking lawyer. Give me an example of where the government lied to me in this case. Show me a message, like Lindell just said. I think this is a good question. Show me a message where the government misinterpreted something and is lying to me, the jury member. To tell people, don't trust the government. No. Okay, we know that. We know a lot of people feel some type of way about the government. I give you that. But I fucking fucking Nifilo. I need you to show me what message or what the government did or where they fumbled that you feel like we cannot trust the government. Show me better than you can tell me. That's where Agnifilo failed in their defense. They did. They didn't give they did not. Go read the closing transcripts where they felt like, oh, you missed it. This was, hold up. What was it? When they said, there was one specific one where he really tried to use this, like, well, this was love, this was this was that. There was, I think, a lot of opportunities where he could have given a very good example and given context to where you could not trust the government. You don't need to say it. Tell me where the government got it wrong. That's what I was looking for. Tell me where the government got it wrong. Show me. Don't say the government is, you can't trust it. Yes, we a lot of us know that. Show me where they got it wrong. Show me. That's it. No. Let's see. That's why the only defense they have. Where were the defense witnesses? And 4 weeks away. Why didn't they bring in a defense witness that was from the Combs Enterprise to say, guys, Diddy's a hard manager. He's a tough boss. But guess what? On this day, we offered Mia PTO and she decided not to take it. On this day, we offered her mental health, EAP, and she said she didn't want to do it. So guess what? We didn't do it. On this day, we offered to mediate this situation. None of that existed to help out the situation there. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Alejandro, thank you so much for the 199, my love. Shout out to you. And Diddy didn't testify, which is kind of hard. You know, I personally wouldn't have let Diddy testify as well because they would have annihilated him on that stand. I don't think it would have worked for him, but yes. The two escorts that spoke on stand never traveled out of state. They usually met in the Midtown Manhattan. How come the government used the ones that stood in the state and not out? You know what, Angel? And that's a great question. I think that's a question that a lot of people should ask. Why do they pick Meat Freezer Guy? Which, by the way, I'm so fucking over his face. I think I've seen him everywhere, all over YouTube. I'm over him. Let me know if you're over it. Regardless of where you stand, Meat Freezer Guy is trash, in my opinion. They use that guy. At least Daniel Phillips is not going out and giving a bunch of interviews. But why did they choose those? And that goes back to Agnifilo's statement, the value of evidence. Why did they pick these guys to testify? Why not the other guys that they were flying in? In total, based on what it sounds like, between Jane Doe and Cassie, they had 27 escorts that they use in total. 27 escorts. Yanni, thank you for renewing your membership. Thank you. Who's the freezer meat guy? The Punisher. The Punisher wrote a book about freezer meat, reaching for the freezer meat. And basically going over ED dysfunctional irregularities in the Tootsie Rolls. That's what he wrote a book about. So, and it's called, his book is something called Freezer Meat, Deep Freezer Meat, something like that. It's gross, but anyways. Let's see. Let's see. Hey, Storm, it's okay. Let's just chill out a bit, okay? Everybody chill out. I know this is a heavy case and everybody gets really upset about certain aspects of it, but let's just chill out. Y'all, we're having a conversation, right? I think we can agree to disagree. I like to do that. I like to have the opposing view. As long as they keep it cute. That other asshole was saying too much. That's why he got blocked. I don't like to block people that don't, you can agree or disagree with me. Completely up to you. Rabbit let freezer meat have his 15 minutes of fame. Minds y'all, he's been all over. I cannot stand freezer meat. I cannot. Thank you. Oh, Storm did nothing. I was like, oh, okay, good. I was like, what's going on? Is everybody okay? See, be careful what you write in chat. I'm going off of what y'all are saying. Storm didn't do anything. Let Storm be. Okay. Some escorts might have charged where there's no consent and tape later on. If they testified, plead the fifth, they get immunity. Same as KK. I don't think KK is going to get immunity at all. I think KK is going to have her own case. Storm, you're fine. It wasn't being mean. Okay. Shout out to you. I think KK is. They're going to get their own cases, guys. KK, D-Rock for sure, who is playing both sides. That's what it sounds like. And who else? I wonder if those that defended Diddy would feel the same way if it was a regular dude from around. Not a bazillionaire. I mean, I don't know. He needs to melt off. I don't like freezer meat. Thank you, Cheeks. Appreciate it. Could y'all imagine how many immunity deals would have been offered if all of these performers were on the stand? Prosecution would have proved their case in just 2. Well, that's what I'm thinking. Freezer meat needs to burn. It's too much. Fahim is another one. That's right. Said agree. They're all next. They're going to get next. Remember, they have to go for the head of the snake. They go for the head of the snake and then they go for everybody else. That's crazy, man. I don't know, man. Rabbit, me neither, but poor guy, the whole world now knows he can't get his meat to work. How kind of embarrassing. He's literally writing books about how to make the meat work. This is too much, man. That's too much. I also heard there's unsealed indictments naming KK, but I don't know when we'll see it. We're waiting, guys. We are waiting to see what's next. Now, hold up, guys. I got to show you guys. This is Megan Cuniff, who shared some of the exhibits. Here's the London. Let me see if I can make myself smaller here. Okay, see if I can. God, I wish I could blow this up. Okay, here it is. It's just some of the evidence dropped. So Combs, this is Megan Cuniff. Shout out to Megan Cuniff. Jurors in Sean Diddy Combs' federal criminal case have seen many hotel reports about damages to the rooms from the hotel nights. Prosecutors have matched the damage reports to specific hotel nights, used flight records and text messages to prove the damages is related to S encounters with prostitutes that Cassie and Jane testified. Here's a few reports from the London. This is in West Hollywood, which markets itself as a tranquil urban oasis that epitomizes modern luxury for the most discerning guests. So we got some stained up sheets. They wrote reports on this. Okay, they wrote reports on this. So like the housekeeping attendant reported damages to the bed linen. There was smoking guest evidence found. Okay. they're even writing, they got the housekeeping supervisor regarding to damages inside the room. Upon arrival the room, the floor had some type of oil or lubricant across the floors, making it slippery to walk. Oh my god, that, remember when Jonathan Perez said that he slipped twice while trying to clean up the room? I said, did they offer workman's comp for that shit? Like, they could have got Vashta Wilson in the stand on the defense. Did Jonathan Perez get into workman's comp after slipping twice on the floors? That would have been a question. They didn't even do that. Slipping on oil that was used. Lord have mercy. Okay, let's keep going. Linen and furniture were damaged as well with some type of oil or lubricant. A total of 37 towels, 20 bed sheets, and bathrobe. One comforter, one mattress pad, 4 pillows with pillow was covered, was damaged. Also 5 interior chairs, 1 balcony chair. The living room sofa were damages with oil and lubricant. 1 book, the bedroom frame along the room was damaged as well. There was no evidence of guests smoking in the room. Well, really? They were literally going from the bedroom to the walls. Like, look at this shit. And it's not like you cannot not see those stains right there. Oh my God. I work as a housekeeper and people are nasty. This is why I don't go to hotel rooms. I hate that. We made $10 an hour and I had to do rooms. I had to do 2 rooms and a house, 5 a room. Tip your room attendants, people, please and thank you. You are got to be kidding me. Look at this. 37 towels. Look at this. This stain right here is just, oh my God. Ew. Look at that chair. That one right there. Oh my. Hold up. Let me close. I got too many damn apps open. Right there. Like, what naked butt was sitting there? Right there, right here. Y'all can't see my mouse? I don't know. But this one. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Look, they even got oil on the book and the phone. Look at this. This thing is soaked. Oh, you can't make this shit up. Ew. Nothing further to report. Oh my God. Look. Oh, hell no. Hold up. They really have pictures of the now let me tell y'all something. This is not okay. Have some decency. Look at the wooden floor. Lord, I can't even zoom into this. Oh my God. Minds y'all, thank you so much for the $10 up. You said everyone wanted to point out Jane hasn't filed a civil suit. I'm willing to bet that she will before all of this is over. Was she gonna use the attorney that Diddy paid? That's the question. Oh my God, minds y'all. Thank you for the $10. I know, right? It chewed right through the weaving of the chair. How does that happen if the asshole was not soaked? You cannot make that. I mean, you can't even. Who can't? You can't do this. You might as well just do this all at your house and damage your house there. Why are you doing this here? Look at the wooden part. Now, I have wooden floors. Let me tell you something about wooden floors. The upkeep on it. I love wooden floors. I love wooden floors. Love it. My friends, right there is ridiculous. Look at that stain right there. I mean, that looks like wine stain. And you can't see it from this picture, but it's literally very oily on that floor. And when it takes forever to pull that off the wood, you literally have to pull that out because oil on wood is just horrible, y'all. Oh my God. This was in January 2023. And it says, dispatch to the room. The name is Eric Carpio, who I'm assuming is a worker, in regards to possible damage to a room by a recent checkout guest. Upon arriving to the room, you can see bodily fluid stains on the wooden floor. Oh my God. Bodily fluids spread across the entire room in sections, as well as a couch inside the room. You will see a lot of the used linen in various sections of the room as well. Oh, you can't make this up. You cannot make this up. This is like gross. Oh no, there's more. Okay. Oh man, look at those, the couch and the chairs. I don't even know how they, Trina, I don't know how they would have cleaned that room. I'm gonna be honest with you. You cannot make the, how? How? You gotta redo everything. Yeah, and 440,000. That's right. Like the furniture in the wooden floors. Literally. You said seriously, there are dungeons that he could have rent. You could rent out a dungeon and stuff with consenting adults. You could do that. You could, like, he could have. He had money to have this done in his own house, guys. Why did he have to do it at hotels? He didn't have to do this at he literally did it at hotels, guys. I don't know. Okay, hold up. This is the list. So this was June 18, 2023. June 18, 2023. Okay. So this person was dispatched to the room and to a damage report. And upon arrival to the room was a mess with trays of food everywhere. Bed sheets were stained and placed in the chair, sofa, floor. I inspect all the sheets to see how much damage was done. Oh God, I hope she wore gloves. It was said we'll be providing a list of items that were damaged. And she also mentioned that the new mattress was soaked in oil. They had to replace the mattress. She can't place new sheets on the bed due to the mattress being soaked by the oil. The mattress, clearly they weren't sleeping in this mattress, y'all. The mattress had oil in it. It was soaked in. List of damage: 10 sheets, 26 bath towels, a separate date, 1 comforter, 1 cover, 4 pillowcases, 3 robes, 1 green blanket, 2 bath rugs, 4 washcloths, 2 mats, 3 towels, 1 bed, and a sofa cushion. They had to get a new bed for this. Why didn't he just do this in his house? Like, look at this. You can't. Oh my God, I'm surprised. You can't make this up, guys. Why didn't he just do this in his house? Look at this. Look at all this marking. Nothing further. Okay, here's another event. This is 2021. This is room 228 had damages 2 full sets of linen as well as some chairs, pillows. And remember when Cassie testified that she would tuck the linen in the furniture just so the furniture wouldn't damage. She would do that just to make sure that it wasn't damaged. Okay? So people are aware. Look at this. Just gives you an idea. And then there's another date here, another room that was damaged. They really went in here damaging into. Why did these hotels keep checking them in? That's the question that I have too. Because look at this. That's the London, and that's the London on a separate date. So how come the London, if you know that there's prostitution? I mean, I don't know. I would assume that there's a lot of prostitution happening. If every, like, these people need to be, this place needs to be held accountable for this. They're literally checking out their hotel rooms for prostitution. Look at these dates. This is the London. All of these room damages reports are from the London. So this guest, Frank Black, is going in there and doing all this. What do you think he's doing? How come these places aren't also held accountable? Different aliases, right? But it's only one card that's being used, right? So a lot of this is happening under their watch too. These are all separate dates. Like, they can't hold these businesses accountable. Look at this is all the London, guys. All of it. Now, it's not that he's not paying for damages, but what I'm saying is that clearly there's damages happening to your room. You have to kind of wonder, well, is there prostitution happening here? What's going on? And why are we allowing the London to be the front for that? Okay, that's like, why aren't they shut down too? I'm here for it. I'm here for these businesses to be sanctioned for things like this. They should be. Like, look at all this damage. I mean, I know that the guy's a celebrity, but come the hell on. They don't care. They just want, I mean, at least he paid for the damages. I get that. But like, if you have places like this that's a sanction for that, I don't know, man. I have to wonder. Yes, rock stars are known to party, but and they will have to pay for that. But the London kept allowing them to stay there, whether it's Frank Black or Jackie Starr or something. But they should be investigated. There's this one too, the Trump hotels. A lot of the Trump hotels were used for this. I don't know, guys. Anyways, guys, shout out to everybody in the chat. Just wanted to let you know my thoughts. I'll be here live streaming the trial tomorrow as well. I have a lot of questions about this. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And by the way, we can agree to disagree. We don't have to be on the same page about a lot of stuff. As long as we're respectful to each other. I have a lot of people that don't agree that this man should be charged, and that's fine. I love it. I love that you guys bring a different point because I go back and forth in my mind too. I'm not married quite yet. Who knows? Maybe the jury might be like, this case is a joke. They might say that. You don't know what they're going to land on. And at the end of the day, my opinion doesn't matter. It's the jury. How is the jury going to see this? And here's the other question that I have. Is the jury going to be confused by the instructions and all the changes to the things that they have done? Because I'm a little worried about that. We've seen that happen before in the Karen Reed case with the charging document. There was a lot of confusion there. Could that happen here? We don't know. We don't know. So I guess we'll see. Morris, thank you so much for being a member for 8 months. Thank you for all that you do. No, thank you, Morris. And thank you for the Cash App. You guys are amazing. Thank you guys for those that have supported for the transcripts. You guys are amazing. All staff were earning amazing tips to turn a blind eye. I'm telling you, Trisha, you're going to have to tip me. Let me say this. I don't even know if I would be cleaning body fluids on wooden floors. That's gross. And how did they determine it was? And just imagine the smell. Oh, God. I don't even want to go there. Like, it's one thing to have body fluids, but the smell on a wooden floor, that shit does not go away. You're going to have to tear that whole thing out. And Tony, thank you so much for the Cash App too. I forgot to thank you last time. I love. Thank you for being a member for for 12 months, for a year. Thank you. Thank you. Damn, that took me a minute to kind of process. The smell on wooden floors from body fluids. Oh my God. I don't even know why I said that. Tony, again, thank you so much for your support, for being a member for a whole year. Thank you, Tony. And thank you for the Cash App. All right. I'm going to send you guys. I got to go. I got to go tend to baby bunny and I got stuff to do. But I will see you guys tomorrow. Mañana en la mañana. I don't know if I'll be live later tonight. We'll see. If they drop more documents, which probably will tonight, we're going to be watching Pacer. We're going to be on it. And shout out to everybody that supported today. I'll see you guys. Bye, guys. Bye, bye, bye.